A confession or two before we move into the main top. For a couple of years, the channel actually started off as Germ Analyze, and the thinking and hope was to examine, of course, mainly Game of Thrones, but become very specialized in George R. R. Martin and his fictional worlds overall. And I did meet with some success, so I'm not that disappointed, but I can't lie, it's really been content besides George that has really taken off, and that gets the most views, the most clicks. So I've had to sort of reorient the channel to follow that. But in my heart of hearts, like many people, I am hoping finally for Winds of Winter to come out and me do a few things on that. But like most people, I have nothing to report except that Dance has passed its 10th anniversary, but the books appear to be no closer to actually being made and released within a timely manner. And Preston Jacobs has even broken down the math that if George had just done about 100 or so words, a novel would definitely be published today. So it's fairly depressing, but there is a kind of upside in terms of the funny memes and George being ribbed from time to time about why he's taking so long. And I know some fans are like, we don't have a right to the book, and I agree with that, but I don't know, some fans getting a little anxious is also called for. So it's kind of like on both sides. Yes, need to relax, but it is crazy. It's been 10 years, and it's probably pretty unprecedented even in fantasy fiction that a series of this size has taken so long. I know of comparable cases like the Dark Tower took, depending on one's count, 30, 35, even 40 years. But Stephen King didn't take 10 years for one volume. It was spread out somewhat more evenly. Granted, he could have taken more time with the final books, but again, the series was done. He's even done some prequel books as well as in-between books. So, yes, a fantasy series can take a while to finish. That's perfectly fine. Authors can take time, but this is really, really out there. And what's kind of sad is Dance had tons and tons of cliffhangers. So I can only imagine if you actually started reading the books from the very beginning. This is really frustrating. For decades and decades, you're waiting for answers, and nothing has happened. And Preston even caught a good number of mistakes that George made within Dance itself. So we're going to hear him speak on some of these issues.
Baby Eamon be Craster's grandson. Um, and figuring that puzzle out is really odd. And so is Dala like actually Gilly's sister? Like
I always thought he meant it in like a metaphorical way because that's the only way that really makes any sense.
So there's a couple things wrong with the idea that it's metaphorical. So one, he's literally saying that this baby has none of Sam's craven blood in it, meaning he understands that we're talking about his genetics. We're talking about the actual blood parents and lineage at this point that go into the child. So he wouldn't say like, oh, he's Craster's grandson, metaphorically, because he's adopted by Gilly, because he's also adopted by Sam. So like, if that could be part of his what makes him up, like he wouldn't talk about him that way, because he's trying to say that this baby will not have craven blood. So why, so he's literally talking about the genetics of the baby. And then the other thing that makes it seem like it wouldn't be, is that both of them? I'm trying to think of the two reasons. Yeah, like he's talking about the genetics. He's literally adopting and saying that his cravenness can't go through. So why would he be talking about Craster in that sense? Oh, and then the second thing is, it's not Craster's. He's not just like Gilly's baby isn't just Craster's grandson. It's Craster's son. So why wouldn't he say the boy was Mance Rayder's son and Craster's son after all? He had none of Sam's craven blood. Like, why would he jump to grandson?
Well, if it's not a metaphor, which I'm still leaning towards, then it could be that maybe God Emperor George made a mistake.
So yeah, you can definitely say that this is a very flawed series. It's not clear why fans are hanging on to it, positive or negative. At least for me, the minor characters are really what I'm more interested in. I don't really care about the main stories. I don't really care about them that much anymore. But some of the minor characters I really want to see resolved. And it is fascinating that, yes, you have these mistakes, but are they mistakes, or does George have some hidden story or hidden mystery that he's going to resolve for us? Again, until we read Winds, we're not going to know. And it's really shocking because Winds is not the end. After Winds, if he lives long enough, we're supposed to get a Dream of Spring. So, yeah, it's a little depressing in terms of celebrating this anniversary, which I think most fans are not celebrating and don't care anymore. Which is kind of sad, but hopefully George has said he's made a bit of progress, hundreds and hundreds of pages. 2021 was not very productive, but again, maybe he's gonna get inspired soon, do a couple more hundred, finish the editing, and maybe sometime this year there will be an announcement for when the book will come out. Because even if it was announced tomorrow, we're not going to get it for at least another year. This kind of book on this scale is going to be marketed. I'm going to have to edit it carefully, hook it up to HBO. So even if it's actually done today, and it's going to take a while to get to us. So there we are. Pressing news, but still worth waiting. But like most fans, I think I've exhausted my patience, and I just want to see this finished and move on to other things, unfortunately.